Don't act like you don't know what that music means. That means we are live at 5 here on the Don Lemon Show. Look at that big smile, Terrence. Wait a minute. Before I even introduce you, Terrence, Terrence is a pollster, Hit Strategies. Why are you smiling? Because everyone's freaking out about these polls.
I'm still very confident, Don. Look, we got 25 days left. I always say, look, we are we have a good product. We have the resources to deliver that product to the voters that are going to decide this election. And look, polls right now are not predicting who's going to win, and that's coming from a pollster, folks. These
Yeah.
polls are not predicting who's going to win on election day. They're just trend lines of who's doing better today versus yesterday.
All right. I like to refer to you as a political analyst and a founding partner of Hit Strategies. How about that?
That's more accurate.
That's better. Okay, so let me just do a little introduction here before we, get ahead of ourselves. So anyway, I'm glad that you're here, Terrence. We're going to talk about everything in a minute, talk about the concerns that you have as going into the election. But we are really down to the wire, folks. 25 days before we go to the polls. And despite Harris's media blitz and Trump's is increasingly, his obvious cognitive decline, the polling suggests that, really nothing can shake up this race. It doesn't appear like anything is moving the needle. That's what we're going to. One of the things we're going to talk to Terrence about. How can Harris? What can she do to secure the White House? And what does she need to do to win over those persuadable voters? And quite frankly, what is your election plan? Have you gotten any people together? Have you checked on your neighbors? Have you checked on your neighbors to see if they're voting? Have you checked on your friends? Have you checked your friends that come out with misinformation? So, and are you giving them facts? So Terrence is here to speak to us about that. So Terrence, let's talk about that. So what does she need to do to win over those persuadable voters? Because if we put this as I put this graphic up, it appears that nothing has really changed since August in this election. Is that true? And what does she need to do?
No, we are certainly seeing consolidation. Look, she's consolidated about 10% more black votes than Joe Biden was getting. She's consolidating young people overwhelmingly, closing the generation gap of young people that were, a lot of the double haters 90 days ago were young people that were not comfortable with voting for either of the almost 80-year-old candidates. And so she is consolidating the electorate. She's consolidating the multiracial Democratic coalition that propelled Joe Biden to victory. Do we still have work to do? Absolutely, but I believe that we have the best product in our candidate. I believe we have the best message, and I believe we have the resources to deliver that message to the voters over the next 25 days. That's going to blow my mind, Don.
What do you mean?
5 days.
Wait, what do you mean it's going to blow your mind? Do you mean blow your mind that it's 25 days or blow your mind that you see things consolidating?
No, it's that we are down to 25 days. It feels like we've been in this election cycle for my whole lifetime at this point, but we're down to the final stretch here. People are starting to vote. Ballots
Yeah.
are landing in mailboxes,
My friend sent me a picture of her and her dog and her ballot, right? Sitting at the dining room table.
I check my mailbox every day. I expect DC sends a mail-in ballot to every single registered voter because that's how you make it easier for people to vote. That's what you do when you want more people to vote. And so I check the mailbox every day. I expect my ballot to land any day now, and I will vote as early as possible. I'm encouraging everybody. I call it banking your vote. Just get that in the bank already.
Yeah.
Avoid the lines. Avoid the commotion. If you're in Georgia, specifically Georgia, but other places that have been changing the rules of voting, the way to avoid that confusion, that chaos, is to vote early.
Yeah. Avoid the ocean. Got it? The commotion. Because there's going to be a lot of people headed to the polls to vote for Kamala Harris. You're going to vote straight red, though, right? Straight up and down, right?
Do they still have the straight line vote? Used to be able to just push Democrat at the top of the ballot and they went all the way down.
Nah, I don't know if you can do that these days. I'm sure I'm sure there's some people and we're gonna see the people saying, I hit this button and it did that, and I keep pressing the Kamala button and it keeps going to Trump. We see that all the time, right? For elections, and that's why it takes us so long sometimes. Okay, so let's talk about this New York Times Siena poll this week, right? Because that has been giving a lot of people fits. Okay. Miss Harris has taken a slim lead nationally in the race for the White House. And this is it's on this poll. And so, look, this is the first time nationally, I believe, that the New York Times seen a poll has her ahead of Donald Trump. What's going on with these polls? Did you just say that they're volatile right now?
But polls are very volatile. Leave this graphic up for 1 second, Don, because
Yes.
I want your consumers to become better, more critical consumers of polling data. Number one, listening audience, polling is not predicting who's going to win on election day. In fact, every poll is predicting the same thing right now. It's a toss up. That's what it's going to be on election day, a toss up. The other thing I want you to look at here, though, the length of those lines is what they call the margin of error, which means that the blue line being above the red line means that's a tied race. She is, in fact, not in the lead in this race. That's a tie, a statistical tie. They're both within the margin of error. That's what it's going to be until election day, folks. In Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, it's going to be within the margin of error. This is a toss up. This is going to come down to organization, to mobilization, to whoever side can mobilize the most voters, right? And that's why it's not enough to just vote. I'm not asking my friends to vote. That's the floor. I need you to vote and then take 3 people to vote. I need you to take election day off and go pick up everybody you know and take them to vote. That's what this is going to come down to. And that's how Democrats have been winning through mobilization and organizing since Barack Obama. This is how we win. This is not different. All of these elections are close, and we've always won with the ground game.
Okay. So what you're seeing up there is 49 to 46. As you said, this is tied. Mr. Trump and Ms. Harris were at even, I think, 47% in mid-September, according to the same poll, after the two candidates met for the first time and probably only presidential debate. Ms. Harris has since shored up support among older voters and has begun making inroads among Republicans. 9% said that they plan to support her, up slightly from 5% last month. I guess that helps. You can tell me. What's more, the polling suggests that Democrats may not have to win by 3 to 5 points in the national popular vote in order to secure the White House, unlike in every other election in the last 2 decades or so. So Trump has made major gains, though, in red states like Florida, that he'll likely win no matter what, and in blue states like New York and California, that he will likely lose no matter what. So he's making inroads, but in places that really don't move the needle electorally for him, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Look, North Carolina, I'm sorry, New York and California are, while they're not presidential battleground states, they're going to vote overwhelmingly Democrats. The listening audience should know those are the states that are very likely going to determine the control of Congress. There are 5 seats in California. I'm sorry, 5 seats in New York that Democrats won that now have Republican members of Congress. 5 seats that Joe Biden won that have Republican members of Congress. I think Republicans have a 3-seat majority. We can take back the Congress with just New York. And so, New York and California are very much so in play. They are going to determine whether or not we have a Speaker, Hakeem Jeffries. But look, what you said there, Don, is how I think we should be analyzing these polls, not based on what it says today, but what it has said over time. And what you just said there is that they went from, what was it, 47, 47?
47, 47 now to what you saw. I believe it was 49.
46, 49.
Yeah.
So what that tells me is that she is, in fact, moving in the right direction, right? That she's consolidating her electorate, that she is building momentum. That's how I look at polls. I look at them as a trend line and not as a prediction. And her trend line is moving in the right direction with all the groups that we've been tracking.
All right, well, so let's put that one back up so that folks will know what we're talking about. Again, this is a New York Times Siena College poll that it's been really all over the place, but this is the first time, as I said, since August that they have put her in the lead. So at least, I mean, you said it's a statistical tie. Yeah. You said it's a statistical tie. Okay.
Yeah. One more thing I want to point to on this poll, though, Don, while you have to back up, is that there are, for folks that aren't doing the math that fast, 49 plus 46 doesn't equal 100.
Yeah, I know.
There's still 5% of voters.
Wait, no, is that new math? I mean,
that damn queer math. 46 plus 49 does not equal 100, which means that there's still 5% of voters not represented here. Those voters might be voting third party. Those voters might be undecided.
Okay. Let's talk about the Gallup poll. I'm going to put up a Gallup poll now on Trump and Harris on issues advantage. Harris is deemed more likable because she's, I think, in the right direction here so far. Harris is deemed more likable than her Republican opponent by voters, but former President Trump has an edge over Harris when it comes to leadership qualities. That's what a survey published on Thursday. That's at the bottom of the screen. So I hope everyone can read this. If you're on your phone, it may appear to be small. I don't know if you guys can take it full screen and just take Terrence and I off for a second. But the Gallup polling found 60% of residents say Harris is likable, compared to 38% who said the same about Trump. The vice president also ranks higher on strong moral character, being honest and trustworthy, and caring about the needs of everyday people. More people say they would be proud to have Harris as their president than Trump. That's according to this survey. Trump, however, ranks higher in terms of leadership qualities. Nearly 60% of respondents said that the GOP presidential nominee is a strong and decisive leader, compared to 48% of voters who said the same about Harris. Roughly 61% of respondents say the former president can get things done, compared to 49% who say the Democratic nominee can get things done. That's what the data shows here. The survey also found that over the course of Trump's 3 presidential campaigns, 2016, 2020, 2024, he has improved on nearly all issues among voters. Harris and Trump are nearly tied among voters on a few issues. They each score 51% support among voters when asked if they can manage the government effectively. Trump scores 52% support, 1 point higher than Harris when asked who would best display good judgment during a crisis. So what do you make of this Gallup poll, sir?
People like her, and that's important in elections. It is quite important when when you're in a contest against someone for the most votes, that a lot more people like you. And this is a staggering overperformance, 22 points over Trump, and just likability. That's half the game, Don. A lot of what we look at in early polling, we were looking at back in January and February and March, before people start thinking about who they were going to vote for, we look at favorability ratings. We look at approval ratings. Who do people like, and who do they approve of? And Kamala Harris has an overwhelming advantage here. And then the other thing that I think people is very, very important to people when deciding who to vote for is, can they trust you? In fact, I think that might be the most important thing that I consider, because we are handing over the keys of the kingdom, right? We're handing over our democracy, our economy, our fate, and our future, not just of America, but of the world. And I think can we trust you might be one of the most important indicators here. So they like her a lot more than they like him. They trust her more than they trust him. And I think those are the kinds of values and characteristics that are going to drive her over the finish line.
So wouldn't you say that Michigan is a very important state for both candidates?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm wondering, if Michigan is so important, why Donald Trump is talking like this to Michigan voters. This is in Detroit. Watch.
I don't think anything that we're talking about today is high on her list. The whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have a mess on your hands.
He's in Detroit.
The whole country will be like Detroit. Let me tell you something. I don't know how many friends you have from Detroit, Don, but these are very proud folks. They are proud of their city. They are proud of the resurgence of Detroit, because it is in fact resurging after being
I was
saved.
just there recently. I loved it. We had a great time. It's beautiful, Every city has its own issues, right? It's a city. It's a big city. It has issues, but Detroit is fantastic right now.
Look, I don't know if you can see all these records behind me, Don. All of these Stevie Wonder and
Motown.
And yeah, man. Look, Detroit is a storied and an important part of the American legacy, and specifically Black American legacy. And this is what we see from Donald Trump time and time again, is when he's not just outright insulting people, when he's not just outright insulting groups of people, he'll outright insult an entire geography. This is no different than shithole countries. This is no different than than the way that he presents America's cities. which we know are where people of color and diversity is concentrated. Urban has for a long time been proxy for Black, for people of color, for minority. And so when he goes into these cities and just diminishes them and demoralizes them this way, I don't know how he expects to compete in these battlegrounds when he's talking to Detroit voters like this.
Well, and it's also talking to voters about when you mention, these are Black and brown cities. It's also, immigrants tend to go to cities, right? More of an opportunity there. He is talking about raping the country. They raped this country. Let's see.
Allowed them to come in and raid and rape our country. That's what they did. Oh, he used the word rape. That's right. I used the word rape. They raped our country.
What? He's immigrants? Is that what he's saying? I mean, look, his wife is an immigrant. Two of his wives were immigrants. One now, and the one who passed away, immigrants. There are lots of immigrants in this country, but I don't know. He says stuff like that. Imagine if Kamala Harris said that.
I mean, look, Don, this is violent language, right? He might be using pejoratives and insults, but beyond just being insulting, it is violent. People feel compelled to defend against rape, right? Right? Like this. I just when he perpetuates this language that presents an inferior class of people that are dangerous and to be feared, and to be regulated and restricted and policed and caged and Muslim banned. I mean, this is violent rhetoric, right? Especially when it's coupled with lack of mental health investment, lack of gun safety regulation. I just think that this brand of politics is not just divisive. It's not just insulting. This shit is violent. It is incendiary, and we've seen the violence that he wrought, and he's promised us the violence that he will bring back. There will be a bloodbath. That is a quote from Donald Trump. I expect America to reject that, and I hope that America doesn't let us down here.
Well, I'm wondering. So then, when you say the polls are volatile, and they are, as you pointed out from the first poll that we put up, Terrence, that it is neck and neck. And why? When you consider you have someone like this who's in the race, who speaks very poorly of immigrants, it doesn't seem to really care about immigrants unless it's one of his wives, right?
I don't know how much he cares about them either. Let's be honest.
So then, so then the question is, why on earth are we this close?
This is America. I've often said that the beauty and danger of America is that it is just as much Barack Obama, a child of immigrants that can strive and work hard, and achieve the highest heights of success, as it is Donald Trump, right? The son of a billionaire who inherited millions of dollars and whose success comes from getting over and shading and belittling and getting over on people. Both of those, I think the dichotomy of Barack Obama and Joe Biden, not just how they lead and how they preside over America, but who they are. The bios of Barack Obama and Joe Biden are both America, for better and for worse. And I'm just hoping that the best of America wins.
I'm wondering if you have any ideas, because you are, did I say political analyst? A political analyst and the founding partner of Hit Strategies. Do you have any constructive criticism or any analysis of the Harris campaign, the Harris Walls campaign? Because there are plenty of folks out there, who are who have some criticism as to why the polls haven't moved in the direction they think, which is more in a positive direction for her.
Look, I would say to those folks, I think it is nothing short of remarkable what Kamala Harris has achieved in 45 days. This has been a historic sprint to reintroduce herself to America, to build a campaign, to build a just to win the nomination, right? She needed what 1,200 delegate votes. I mean, this has been a Herculean undertaking to pick a VP, to debate prep, to introduce yourself to America, to hit every battleground state at least once a week for the next for those 7 weeks. That has been a Herculean undertaking, and I think it's quite impressive what she's been able to build, what she's been able to consolidate. I think that gives us a lot of insight into what she could do in 4 years. I don't think that the closeness of this race and that the hardness of the electorate to shift in either direction, I don't think that's the fault of Kamala Harris or the campaign that she's running. I think that is, we got to look in the mirror. I mean, that's America. This is, the choices before us, and half of America would like to choose the felon, sex offender, fraud, racist. I mean, that is half of America would like to choose him. And I just have to hope and believe that the better half of America will win.
Okay, so listen, I don't disagree with you. That's who we are. And look, when they say we only have ourselves to blame, but at least strategically, how does one fight against that? How does one even come out the victor with something like that when you have, such headwinds? There's got to be a way to figure that out.
I think it's the strategy that we're running here. It's a big tent. It's a big tent strategy that has room to consolidate the base of young people, people of color, and women, but also the tent is also big enough to grow to invite in independents, moderates, suburban, and Republicans. Look, I don't think that this is just a Kamala Harris coalition. When I look at her and Liz Cheney, on the campaign trail, I don't think that Kamala, and this is impressive, right? I don't think that she's just assembling a Democratic or Kamala Harris coalition. She's assembling an anti-MAGA coalition. And that is an overwhelming majority of America, not 50, not 51. The overwhelming majority of America is anti-MAGA, is anti this shit. We have to convince those people that the only way to combat this is to vote. I think that's what she's doing. I think she's inviting a lot of people into our coalition. Look, that's going to make it quite difficult to govern, but that is what it's going to take to win.
So you said an anti-MAGA, but also a pro, I would imagine, democracy coalition as well.
I think that those are two sides of the same coin. And this is a part of why I get so mad when Republicans are allowed to own patriotism, right? Because there's nothing more patriotic than defending the rights of everyone to vote. There's nothing more patriotic than accepting the results of the election. Look, I listen to Barbara Jordan. I'm a nerd out for a second, Don. I listen to Barbara Jordan, the historic first Black Congresswoman from Texas. I listened to her impeachment speech versus Richard Nixon. Mm-hmm. And she says that she had been, for the first 150 years of America, she had been omitted from the dream. She had been omitted from the franchise, that it did not include her as a woman or as a Black person. And it is because of that she was omitted for so long, that she is the best person to stand in defense and to be an inquisitor in defense of the Constitution. That's where we are, that it is the oppressed, it is the disenfranchised, it is the marginalized that is rising up to save this country. And I believe that there's more of us than there are of them.
Okay. So listen, if you're watching, if you're in the chat, please make sure you hit the thumbs up. And also, we want to know what you think. We want you to engage, because I want to read some of your comments to Terrence as well. Terrence, did you get a chance to read Charles's latest column, Charles Blow's latest column in the New York Times?
I haven't. Tell me about it. I can't wait to read it tonight.
Okay. So Charles Blow has a column in the New York Times, and it starts off, it says, "Joy is working for Harris, but can it close the deal?" is the headline. I don't know if Charles, wrote that. Is that a quote around it? Okay. No. It's not a quote. So I don't know if he wrote the headline, but he starts off by saying, if Donald Trump would just to shut up for a few days, he would be elected president. But he just doesn't understand that, the pollster Frank Luntz told me last week. And he said, if Kamala Harris and Tim Walz would just get real with the American people, that would ensure their election, but they're too afraid. And then he goes on to say, but what does get real? What does get real mean? For Harris, it means putting herself in position to make more meaningful connections with voters who are still on the bubble, what I call the final 5%, give or take, that I believe she'll need to win over to ensure a victory. Okay, so that's how he starts. So I want to know what you think about that, but let me just read the second paragraph. Okay. It says the campaign doesn't need a post-Joy strategy, but it definitely needs an in addition to Joy strategy. For me, that also extends into press strategy. The campaign, which has leaned heavily on influencers and entertainers, many of them providing friendly media venues in which Harris isn't pressed or challenged, is slowly and cautiously including more challenging settings, like her recent appearance on 60 Minutes. But her campaign must do more. Harris has to come down from the rally podiums for more personal interactions with individual voters. So what say you about this? That it's saying that, all is not lost, right? He's saying that she needs to get real and go after that. Frank Luntz says after that 5% of persuadable voters, that bubble that you talked about. You said, if you add those numbers up, didn't you just say that? They don't equal 100%, that she needs to go after that. And then saying she needs to connect more, get off the stage from behind the teleprompter. What do you say?
I agree. I agree with all of that. Look, what he calls the final 5, I call the last mile. Right, she has undertaken a historic sprint that I can't even begin to measure in miles. But what I do know is that the last mile is going to be the hardest. That the people that are not with us yet, after spending nearly $500 million, and after Donald Trump continues to show his ass every day, that for those people, they're gonna have to hear a different message. They might have to hear from different messengers, and we might have to reach them on different mechanisms. So I completely agree. This last mile is going to be the hardest, but that's also why she is doing 60 Minutes, The View, Kimmel. Was it Kimmel or Fallon?
She did Colbert.
That she is this was always the plan, right? Is like, let's have these rallies, let's bring in as many people as we can, ignite some excitement in this party again, ignite some momentum, enthusiasm, and then start having a very direct conversation with the American people. But not just the American people, which I do think she's doing through some of these traditional media outlets like 60 Minutes, The View, etc. But that she has to also carry that message to meet the voters where they are, that are in that last mile, that are in that last 5%, by not just doing traditional media like 60 Minutes, but also doing podcasts like Call Her Daddy, right? That has an overwhelming young woman audience. Like by doing shows like Charlemagne the God, right? Like this is the evolution of the campaign. This is the final stretch here, and that's exactly what we see her doing. And then the last thing I want to go ahead.
She gets in trouble every time she goes on Charlemagne, but go on. Sorry.
No, I know. Charlemagne, play nice.
I'm just saying. So my strategy when you say that is, what does she do? I mean, to read, that's a certain demographic. I get it. Look, I'm having fun. Charlemagne is a friend. I like him. But I mean, there are other places to go, right, to reach Black voters. And she's having trouble with Black men. So what does she do?
Yeah, look, and this actually gets to the second part of Charles's piece there, which is Joy Plus, right? Joy in addition to what? And I think that's again, this is the evolution of the campaign. It's been 45 days, guys. She's been a nominee for 45 days. But the joy, the joy in addition to what is why we are rolling out such robust policies that have dollar amounts, time frames, pay fors. She's not just saying she wants to create 3 million new small businesses. She's saying 3 million new Black small businesses. She's saying she wants to do that in her first term. She's saying she wants to do that in her first term by giving these businesses $50,000 startup assistance, which is an increase from the current federal startup assistance of $5,000, right? This is the Joy Plus policy Joy plus wealth creation. Joy plus bring down these goddamn costs. Joy plus regulate these pharmaceutical companies so they can't price gouge us for the drugs that we need to save our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I think that she's doing the media plus, and I think she's doing the joy plus. But it's been 45 days, and we got a lot to do in the next 25.
More from Charles Blow. And we all know who Donna Brazile is, right? You don't want to cross Donna Brazile. As a Democratic strategist, Donna Brazile told me, you cannot reach people from a platform or a stage. Rather, you got to actually be in the neighborhoods and go and tell the folks that you need help and you want their vote. And listen, Harris has run a remarkable race, one truncated by the historic route by which she became her party's nominee. But now she must finish it in the way many longer campaigns begin, by prioritizing retail politics that win over the reluctant. How does she do that?
Look, everyone.
None of this, by the way, none of these quotes from any of these people are saying, "Hey, we got it." Hey,
right.
I'm confident. Like, you're confident, I believe, about the polling.
I am confident, but I want to be clear, Don. We don't got it. We got work to do. You know what I mean? Like, I think it is foolish to underestimate Donald Trump and the power of his coalition. We have done that before at our own peril. This thing is close. This thing is going to come down to a razor's edge, and that razor's edge will be determined by what Donna just said just there. It's retail politics, hand-to-hand combat, door knocking. And when I say door knocking, Don, this isn't just, hey, I'm from the Kamala Harris campaign reminding you to vote. It is, hey, I'm from the Kamala Harris campaign and early voting has started and I have a car sitting outside right now. It will just take 5 minutes if I could take you to go vote. That's the hand-to-hand combat that we have to start doing, and that we have started doing. I mean, Kamala Harris's ground operation is dwarfing what Donald Trump and Republicans are able to produce right now, and there's no time to make that up.
Yeah, Terrence, so you have to leave. I think I only had you for a couple minutes. You got to run, right? Is that someone trying to get you? Your alarm?
Oh, you can hear it going on.
I got good ears. I thought
I was being subtle.
Terrence, that was great. Thank you. I appreciate you joining us. Good luck, and please come back and tell the folks here that you're confident. But what?
That's it, folks. Look, I am confident that Kamala Harris is going to have enough votes to bring this home, but we don't have them today, and we got to bank every one of them early. And we got to, and our vote is not enough. We got to get a lot more of them.
What did you say? Tell them again. We don't have them today. That's why
right. We don't got them today, but we will have them on election day as long as each of us does our part.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Terrence.
Thank you, Don. I'll talk to you soon.
Good to see you. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Okay, that's Terrence Woodbury. Terrence Woodbury, a Democratic strategist. He's a pollster, and also he's the founding partner of Hit Strategies, and we love having him on because he's just very sober, very smart. Here's the information, no hyperbole, none of that. And so we love hearing that. And we want you to know, some of you may, hey, it's great, she's going to win. Okay, just, don't be overconfident. Don't be overconfident. In the meantime, we have folks like Terrence who are giving us just, straight information, giving us the facts. Same thing with Kamala Harris. The same thing with President Joe Biden. But you have got one person who is out there, and I think you know who I'm talking about, who is really making up things and lying to people. He's lying about the hurricane response, and he's lying at rallies about what happens to your kids when they go to school, right? All of a sudden, your kid goes to school, and then they come home, and all of a sudden they're another gender. Now, which is bizarre. So I think that people really need to pay attention to the cognitive decline and the delusion of Donald Trump. I've said it once, I'll say it again. This is him at a rally. Watch.
How about that one? Your child goes to school and they take your child. It was a he and comes back a she. And they do this. And they do it. And often without parental consent. Can you even believe we're saying this?
No. Can you believe he's saying it? I can't believe he's saying it because that's not true. Imagine your kid goes to school in the morning, a boy, and it comes back a girl. It goes a girl and comes back a boy. And has a surgery that fast without your permission, without you knowing about it. somehow the doctor sneaked into the school, and where did they do the operation? In the guidance counselor's office? Did they do it in the nurse's aide office? Or like, what was it, in the bathroom? It simply makes no sense. But you heard the people there at the rally. They are eating it up. They're just licking it up like lapdogs. Absolutely no sense. Why isn't anybody talking about his cognitive abilities? Why aren't people talking about his cognitive abilities, his lies? Why is that not an issue? Why is that not an issue? Now, I want to play something for you guys, because we always talk about how folks are being co-opted, right? And I want to bring in Michael Blake now. Michael Blake is the CEO and founder of Atlas Strategy Group, and he's also the founder and vice chair of a Democratic National Committee. Hey, thank you. Good to see you, Rev. Michael.
Good to see you, bro.
Thank you.
Good to see you, brother.
I was just going into all the lies and disinformation that Donald Trump has been putting out there. And I just want it's obviously you're very well aware of what's happening in Florida right now and down in the storm area, right? And in a couple of the battleground states down there. And Donald Trump is out telling people lies about FEMA, about the response, that they're they're out there to steal your homes and all of those things. Now, I want you, as well as Michael, to listen to this, because this is what happens when you get co-opted by a cult leader, which is the MAGA cult leader. This is what can happen to you. This is a warning. Okay, watch this.
Father-in-law lives just outside of Asheville, North Carolina, and he was badly damaged by Hurricane Helene. And he has refused all FEMA help because he's a hardcore Trumper. And he literally believes that if he accepts anything from FEMA, they're going to take his house. I don't understand how so many people are under the spell of this freaking con man. I don't understand it.
Well, it's absolutely heartbreaking about your father-in-law. I'm so sorry to hear it. I hope. Dan, it's hard to even imagine it. I mean, he lost almost everything, and he's refusing all help from the federal government and complaining to us that he doesn't have food, that he doesn't have the stuff he needs, and yet he won't accept the help. What the hell are we supposed to do? We're not in a position to be able to fly across the country and help him. Yeah. There's people begging us to get him to accept help, and he won't do it. Wow.
And I guarantee you, I'm not the only one. I guarantee you, I'm not the only one.
I wish there was something I could say as to, I don't know. Does he have access to any electronics where you could send him some information debunking this, and that he might?
We've done all of that. We've done all of that. We've sent him all the FEMA bulletins. We've sent him all the stuff from the fact checkers. He doesn't believe it. He thinks he just believes Trump. Literally, Dan, it's a cult. He's a cult member. I'm sorry to say it. He's a cult member. And he's my father-in-law, and it sucks.
Hi, Michael. I'm Nikki, Don's producer. Don dropped off, but just to keep the conversation going, if you can just let us know kind of what you feel about that, how that makes you feel.
Absolutely. Well, look, I'm doing this interview, as you can see from the Du Bois archives. I'm at UMass Amherst, in which Du Bois is a scholar on democracy and all that he talked about around race and class and democracy, and it's intertwined there, is very relevant to what you just showed. We have people, millions in this country, who are not getting help despite paying taxes to their federal government, because one man believes that you accepting help from your government would lead to him losing an election. Just internalize that he wants you to elect him to the highest post in the world. And is literally saying, don't trust the people to help you during an emergency. More times than not, Nikki, people are are reaching out to someone in government in these moments because they don't know where else to turn. And it's devastating and it's heartbreaking to listen to that. Now, but it's also important, though, that those who have emboldened this kind of rhetoric, which Dan Abrams is one of those people. It was very ironic to listen to Dan being so sympathetic. Dan has been spewing a lot of the Republican talking points on News Nation and really driving that home. So now to be saying, well, is there anything we can do? Well, what you can do is to stop the nonsense of what is being stated. And so, look, my family's in Florida. I got a family, I've been checking on them constantly. My oldest brother who lives in Georgia used to live in North Carolina. And to all the people who are being impacted still by hurricanes Helene and Milton, you have a government in large part to help you during these crises. Do not follow the words of someone who repeatedly is giving rhetoric for the purpose of his own victory. And if you don't believe that's the case, think about on immigration. He fundamentally directly communicated externally, saying to Senate Republicans they should not vote on a bipartisan immigration bill because it would hurt him to win. He's now telling you in the midst of a hurricane where you are wondering, can I survive? Don't trust the entity that can save you. And so these are the very practical moments that people have to be assessing. And I tie it back to a primary reason why he is the former president. It was his utter incompetent mishandling during COVID, where he showed you that his rhetoric was dangerous. And this is the continuation of that.
I'm not sure if Michael can hear me. Can you hear me, Nikki and Michael?
Yes, we can hear you,
Yes.
and I will let you take back over.
No, I'm glad that you're here. So stay close. For some reason, the internet has gone down, and it looks like Michael is having a little bit of issue. Michael, we can hear you. I think we can't see you. You still there?
Yeah, I can hear you and see you. Yep.
Okay, great. So,
Michael, I really hope that your family is safe in Florida.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Nikki. Thanks for hopping in. So let's take Michael off until his shot comes back up. So, Michael, here's my question to you. You mentioned, Dan, you said he's been giving misinformation over on News Nation, and there have been a lot of people who are giving misinformation. I don't watch. I've been on a show recently, but I don't. I'm not an avid watcher of News Nation. I just don't watch cable that much anymore because there's so much misinformation and just like fighting. People just come on. They put these groups and panels together just so people can argue, and I don't think anything gets accomplished that when you do that. But how then does one reach someone like that gentleman's dad, who is hostile to the very people who are trying to help him when they are stuck in these media echo chambers? You probably they probably don't turn off Fox News or OAN or Newsmax or any of that. How do you reach those people? How does Kamala Harris reach those people?
You reach them with outlets that do not have the name of Kamala Harris or Donald Trump to send the information that is practical and objective and real through social media, advertising, through influencer mobilization, through sports. I always remind people that 93 of the 100 highest viewed shows last year were football games.
Right.
Find the avenues where people will be paying attention so that you can make people be aware and informed. At the end of the day, if tens of millions of people are going to make decisions to not listen to the truth because of the words of Donald Trump, what we can't do is say, well, I'm just going to give up. We just got to find other ways to get them the truth. And so we are in a moment right now where you think about in Florida. I'll use Florida example. The clip was around North Carolina, but I use Florida as an example, where you had Governor DeSantis today attacking Vice President Harris for her supposed lack of engagement and responsibility during the hurricane, utter nonsense, which we know is just not true. But again, millions of people will believe that. And so what we have to do is outlets such as this, Don, and outlets such as Roland, and outlets such as the Shade Room or Breakfast Club, like we got to find other places. And even on the objective front, like when someone's going online and they're trying to find something around sports that intrigues them, use that as a way to make people aware about the facts on how to get help. I don't care how you get help. I just want to make sure you get help.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that, because you're getting to a point, because, the sort of traditional sites that people go to, do you think, let me just a very simple question. Do you think the campaign is doing enough to reach out to folks, like you said, to me, to Roland, to the Shade Room, and to other folks like that?
There's always more that needs to be done, which we're doing right now. And I can see Don pretty well. I don't know if we can bring it back to the 2 box, but I think
are you up? You're up, right? I think hopefully your picture's up. Go for it. Yeah. If we can bring Michael back up, that would be great. We don't see you, Michael. You're dark. You're black. You're dark. I know that you're black. But I'm just saying this is black.
I mean, it's all good. It's all good. That's amazing. I embrace my blackness and my darkness right there.
But you said there's always more to be done.
There's always more to be done. I mean, look, we're in a zone right now where in 26 days, it's hard to believe that we're this close now, you're going to have tens of millions of people deciding on who do you trust with government. Mm-hmm. Fundamentally. And you have one person who is actively and consistently saying you should not trust government.
Right.
But unfortunately, Don, to your question, it's not just the MAGA that's believing this nonsense. It's the brothers who believe, or he gave you a check. Trump didn't give you no damn check. Congress gave you a check. Your federal taxes gave you a check, right? It's Latino communities who are believing that somehow this man will be better for you on immigration and migration when he's out here doing everything possible to disrespect you and hurt your communities. And so what we need right now are finding all the different avenues, which I would say is going to be happening in earnest over the next 5 to 7 days, because voting's beginning. Early voting is beginning in Georgia on Tuesday. Early voting gets going in Michigan on Saturday. These are critical places where you can't wait. And the only way we can defeat this nonsense is by people showing up and learning information through other outlets such as this.
When you're speaking about, people giving disinformation, lying or shaping the narrative in a way that's not true for their viewers for clicks, right? And perhaps they want Donald Trump in office, but they're pretending that they are non-biased and in the middle, so to speak. I want to play this so you can criticize it or just respond to it. This is Tim Miller of the Bulwark and also a contributor over at MSNBC on Piers Morgan, speaking to I forget the congressman's name, but here he is.
Surely, Tim, you must recoil a bit when you
Dan Crenshaw,
see the way she responds to those kind of questions. I mean, she literally says nothing.
I don't.
It's just blather.
I don't, because this is the thing. You guys don't want to show Donald Trump's answers because they're even more word salad. It's lies and it's conspiracies and it's dangerous. And that's why we're not showing his interviews where he's lying about what's happening with Hurricane Helene right now, or the debate where Kamala mopped the floor with him. Here's the thing. Congressman Crenshaw wants your audience to think that the Republican Party right now is the same as it was in 2017, and that the Donald Trump administration will be the same as it was when he brought in a bunch of traditional Republicans to be around him in his cabinet and to work in his staff. And I'm sorry, that's just an imaginary world that the congressman wants to live in to feel comfortable. Because what the world we live in now is all of those people. No, I'm sorry, Piers, let me finish. All of those people are gone now. And at the RNC at the box, the people around Trump are Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson. Tucker had a prominent spot to speak at the convention. Congressman Crenshaw did not. This new party is a nativist party that's going to be about mass deportations and tariffs and revenge on Donald Trump's enemies. If you don't believe me, listen to what Donald Trump says. And I just want to know why Congressman Crenshaw thinks that he understands where the party is better than Trump's own Vice President, Mike Pence, who assesses this and says, no, this is not someone we can trust. Why does Congressman Crenshaw think that he knows better than Mike Pence about Donald Trump's character and what kind of policies he would put in place?
Dan, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, so I'll just remind everybody that we're about to vote in November. And on your ballot, it doesn't ask you the question of whether Donald Trump is the same as Jesus Christ. That's not what the question is. The question is, do you prefer Donald Trump or do you prefer Kamala Harris?
Okay, he didn't really answer the question there at all, Michael.
And he said her name wrong. It's Kamala. I mean, we know what they're doing. Yeah.
And it's easy to say. I mean, it's like it's an easy name to say. But yes, go on, please.
Look, I just think maybe because I'm in the Du Bois Center, I'm feeling even more black than I usually do, which you already know I get after it anyway. Look, I just think like there is a difference between prejudice and racism. However, their rhetoric is both. And so Trump's rhetoric of saying, don't trust government, but trust me, is intellectually lazy and intellectually stupid. But you have people who are fundamentally believing a mindset of let's go back to the days where it was better for us, when it actually wasn't. You didn't have more money, you didn't have more opportunities, but you had a perception you had more power. And so the dynamic of this smart, capable, competent Black woman showing up. So now this is a way for me to counter this narrative of they're not good for you. So what I can't do, which is what I appreciate was said in that clip, I can't let you see his absurdity. All I'm going to do is give you some talking points and then make it seem like she's not there for you. And so in this moment that we're in, you have a very clear contrast. 26 days from now, Donald Trump still can't tell you how he'll make you more money. He can't tell you how you'll be safer. Can't tell you how you would have a home. Can't tell you how you would own the home. Can't tell you how your healthcare would be better. His concepts of plan. Can't tell you if he would have an education system because they want to eliminate the Department of Education. Can't tell you how climate change is real because we just had the 4th strongest hurricane on record that just hit Florida. Can't tell you any of these things. But they'll tell you is, well, she's bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's intellectually ignorant, stupid, lazy. And so the easiest thing to do is let me not show you what he's saying. And what I've always driven home the point is like, if you don't want to hear any of these things that I just said, an election at its core is a decision of what is someone going to do for the future. I still can't have a Republican actually tell me, other than Project 2025, what is Donald Trump going to do for you? If Project 2025 is not his plan, which is clearly their plan, 81% of the authors of Project 2025 are former Trump officials. If that supposedly is not your plan, then what's his plan? And so to that point, they have to continue to not show you and tell you and let you live in a space of ambiguity and confusion with this Black woman is the boogeyman. This government is the boogeyman. And so therefore, if you're scared and you're concerned, believe that, don't believe what I'm saying to you. And so to tie it together, Don, look, we are watching right now the consistency of discipline for destruction. They are willing to repeatedly drive home a lie and non-answers because they know the truth will lead to them losing.
And they know that the truth, as I've been saying, will never get to their voters. Now, I know, it's been said, don't call voters stupid, or you shouldn't call them, part of a cult or dumb or whatever. But Donald Trump always says, I love the poorly educated. And I have to play this for you so you can just listen to, again, what the vice president is up against, what we're all up against. And really, quite frankly, what patriots are up against in this country. This is a Donald Trump voter saying that Democrats made the hurricane because that's what she heard from someone, as you said, probably one of these news stations giving misinformation, or either Donald Trump. Here it is.
Happened with the hurricanes.
I think there was an upcoming storm, and then I think government set in with whatever it is that they do. I don't know all the specifics about it. I'm not an expert in cloud seeding or whatever it is that they use to magnify the storm to a higher degree to disturb a land that maybe wanted for lithium that Harris's husband is partaking in.
So they made the storm stronger, so it would hit the.
With this one.
You think that Milton, they're making it stronger?
From a 2 to immediately to 5, like instantaneously.
You're implying that the government made a hurricane stronger to hurt its own country, the United States of America?
Correct.
And what would be the gain of that?
If like there's been people out there, if they have an Alexa, I don't know if you've heard that, and they've asked what caused Milton. You can go on there now. It's already predicted the number of deaths and the amount of. It's already predicted it. On a Google, it won't do that. If you ask it about Helene, it'll tell you the government actively used seed clouding. This is before Helene even happened.
Why would a country want to have a hurricane be strong and hit its own country?
Because they want to control certain places. And if you're looking at where the hurricane's going, it's a lot of red states. If you're looking at the counties in North Carolina that were hit, there were all of them, 26 out of 28 of those counties were for Trump. They're doing whatever they can because they can't rig the election.
Even control the weather?
Yes.
Michael, I don't even know what to say to that.
Okay, so all right, so just it's so painful. It's so painful. But let's just make sure let's make sure we tee this up here. Let's make sure we tee this up. So this person believes that the government, not God, not climate change, went up in the sky and was like, yo, let's just crank up some hurricanes. Let's bust up some tornadoes. Let's just get this whole thing cracking right now. Right now, here's the piece that shows the intellectual laziness on 2 degrees. Florida right now, the places that were hit the hardest, being Central Florida, are the Democratic strongholds outside of Miami. So yes, we controlled it so that our voters don't show up. That's right. That's exactly what it is. But now flip it on the other side. So Democrats did this, is what they believe. Do you think they believe that Trump then controlled COVID?
Of course, no, they don't believe that, but you know,
of course,
right? So yeah, but you're being too logical, Michael.
I'm being too logical. How dare I be logical again? So I just think, like, in this zone here of, you know, how people lock in on information, it is scary, right? That, you know, a lot of people just like to be entertained, and I just think that watching some of these clips that they do, they like to entertain themselves.
I think she's serious. I think she's serious.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm just saying. But I just think, like, I actually do think she believes what she just said, right? But I think that happens when you lock in on the same type of absurd framing and messaging that they're getting from an OWN or a Fox and otherwise to believe this, right? So look, at the core, someone who's believing that clearly ain't gonna vote for a Democrat. I don't think that's someone that was voted for a Democrat at all. Like, I think just Trump has emboldened them even more, but they were clearly of a MAGA mindset. For election purposes, I, as a Democrat, cannot use my time in the next 26 days trying to convince someone thinking that. Like, if someone's thinking that, I'm wasting my time, right? I'm wasting my time.
But okay, I'm glad you said that, because then I know that she has to go after every voter. It just makes me wonder if people are convincible, right? If people can, you know what I mean, come to their senses, or if everyone is just, if it's just baked in right now, because you have, I mean, she's not the only one who
Yeah.
believes that. There are many people who believe that. And if you're part of the MAGA cult, there are many other lies and conspiracy theories that you believe.
Yeah. Well,
Like that lady.
I mean, it's pretty baked in on both sides. I mean, I think if we're honest with ourselves, it's probably a 48 on both sides. Like there's truly nothing that Donald Trump is going to say to me to make me think, let me vote for Donald Trump. Like, I mean, I just nothing, right? Literally nothing. So,
Right.
So in that zone, we're talking about that 4%, right? That could be movable. And I think going back to that previous clip, that gentleman who called in to talk about his father-in-law, I don't know what his party is, but I would think that person's pretty movable because he's seeing it in real time. Like he's internalizing it in real time of, you have one side that is trying to save my father-in-law and you have another candidate who's not. That person is the one that in these 26 days that we're having the conversations about. Right? The person that is standing in a MAGA rally, there's nothing you're going to do about that person right here, right now. But it's also very practical, Don. It's the practical concerns of how are they making it harder for absentee voting and early voting? How are they making it harder when they're talking about hand recounts and these other things because of their lack of trust in the system? But again, I go back to another logical piece that, again, forgive me for being logical here. So that woman believes that government is so bad that it's controlling hurricanes, but she's believing that she's going to go vote. So she trusts the election to count her ballot. So the government's fine there, but the government's not good when it comes to the other side. So again, let's not waste our time on voters that's not going to vote for you.
And you know who else feels that way? And people is the president, Joe Biden. And speaking of being dark, because I love Dark Brandon.
Oh, Dark Brandon's been out the last 2 days.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm like, yeah, he's back, Dark Brandon. Because he knows how to deal with it. Like he would not get involved in the whole politics. Like the reporter tried to bait him and said, hey, Ron DeSantis wouldn't take the vice president's call. He paused for a minute and he said, look, I had a very fruitful conversation with Ron DeSantis. He acknowledged that they're getting everything that he needs. I told him whatever to call. We have to remember, that we're going to take care of everybody regardless of blah 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 blah. And I was like, damn, Dark Brandon. But did you see Dark Brandon today?
Oh yeah, he was done when they asked him about Trump.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I want everybody. This is Joe Biden at his finest. Here it is.
President, have you spoken with former President Trump at all?
Are you kidding me? Mr. President Trump, former President Trump, get a life, man. Help these people.
Will you hold him accountable? You said you were going to hold those accountable.
Public will hold them accountable. You better than the press hold them accountable because you know the truth.
Do you plan to speak with former President Trump?
No.
No, and with the walk off,
he's done with the nonsense. Well, I'm getting the look of it's time for me to go start my event. So, but I'm gonna say
all
this.
Right, all right, yes.
But I think on the Dark Brandon, right? Like, I think that it's necessary for the president to be checking the former one that way. And we all have to do that right now. A large reason why people are even listening to this Trump nonsense is this perception of bravado and being tough, even when he's telling you a lie and telling you foolishness. And so you got to check him and tell him, yeah, get a life. Get your life together. You are a clown. You are a liar. You are a disgrace. And saying it that directly here. And in this moment, if he was supposedly the man and the power that he was, he wouldn't be afraid to debate this brilliant woman. And he's afraid because she checked him multiple times last time, right? So we look, Dark Brandon needs to just put on the sunglasses and keep reminding people how it goes down so that in 26 days, we can win this thing. and remind people once and for all that Trump is a loser.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, listen, thank you very much. Michael, I hope we get to work together on at least speaking more about black men and getting them to understand the truth, because I'm still hearing she locked up so many black men without cause, whatever. I'm still hearing all those things from black men and the stimulus check, as you mentioned. So I would like to continue on with you, even if we do it virtually, whatever, moving up to the election. Let's continue this and let's educate some folks. And I really appreciate you joining us, and go do your event. Okay. Thank you, Michael Blake. I appreciate it. Sorry about the technical issues. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hey, so listen, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a conspiracy to knock us off the air, but I won't say her last name, but that the fantastic Nikki stepped in on my behalf and did a great job. Probably did a better job than me. So maybe it should be the Nikki show. But let me just say, make sure you hit the thumbs up, right? And again, we're sorry about the technical issues, but for some reason, the last couple of days, I don't know if they were working on the internet. I don't know if it's like at this time it's being, I don't know what's going on. Who knows? But anyways, so I apologize for that. But Dark Brandon is one thing, but also, my friend over at The View, I'm gonna call her Dark Hostin or Dark Sunny, right? Because she laid one down for the former president that I think all of you need to hear. And just sit back, everyone, and please, Sonny Hostin on The View.
Go ahead, Sonny, your turn. Well, I have a personal legal note. Yes. Donald Trump, I want to thank you for personally telling so many lies and committing so many alleged crimes and providing us with material on a daily basis. You help us do our jobs, and I'm so appreciative. Because of people like you, a former prosecutor and legal expert can become a fixture on a show like this. And again, I'm so grateful. I admit I may not have spent as much time in a courtroom as you have.
That's a good one.
I was also recognized with a Special Achievement Award by the Department of Justice. You remember the Department of Justice, right? It's the agency that's been pursuing you for decades. And like Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, I've had a history of prosecuting sex offenders. Uh-oh. So thank you for keeping people like us in business. And as for dumb questions, you're always welcome to come here and answer some, if sitting so close to a prosecutor won't make you nervous. I'll even give you a free View mug, not to be confused, though, with a mugshot, because that's your area.
The reason Sonny did that is because he criticized The View and said there was dumb questions and whatever. So I love that Sonny did that. And that is where we will end today. So again, sorry about the technical issues, but hey, shit happens, as they say. So make sure you hit the thumbs up, make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Remember, it's free. We're on our way to 260,000. I'm sorry, to 300,000. To 300,000. That's where we want to get subscribers, and we want to do it quickly. So make sure you help us out with that to grow the community. And that said, I will see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. for our hot topics, where we will be in the studio and there won't be any technical issues. Knock on wood. Okay. So thanks for joining us, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Bye. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps us with the algorithm. And also, we'd love for you to become a subscriber. So hit that button too. We're live every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Eastern. So there's plenty of content for you to check out.